Hello friends and welcome to our tutorial. Today we're going to be making some beginner-friendly text animations using the range selector in After Effects. So, without further ado, let's jump into the tutorial. Okay, so in this first example I've already prepared some text. You can write your own, and we'll be making some pretty simple text animation where we'll be animating the opacity of this text by a character using the range selector. So let's select our text, let's open up its properties, and let's open up this menu, text, and in the Animate tab push this little icon and select the opacity property. And as we can see, the Animator 1 has appeared with the range selector. So what we're gonna do? The range selector animates the text. You can imagine this string of text as a range of values from 0% to 100%, where 0 will be in the beginning, in the start of the text, and 100% will be in the end of the text. So, what I want to do, I'm gonna put 0 in the opacity. I'm gonna place a keyframe in the beginning of the timeline with the start property. I'm gonna go to 1 second and make start 100%. And as you can see, now text animates by character from the beginning to the end. We can also animate from the end. We can also animate the text from the end by making this kind of animation. We'll set the start to 0, and now I'm gonna animate my end. Text will appear from the end of the composition. So this is how it works. And you can make all sorts of animations with this. You can animate it by character, by word, or by line. Just go to the advanced menu, and as you can see, the animation is now based on characters, so like this. And if I'm gonna select words, for example, now the text will animate by a word. We can also animate this by a line, like this. Now the whole line of the text is animated. I'm gonna select characters again, and I'm gonna easy ease my keyframes. I'm gonna select them, right click on one of them, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Now I'm gonna go to the graph editor, select my keyframes, and pull one of these handles to the left. And we're done. Okay, so in the second example we're going to be mixing some different animation properties to create something more complex. So let's jump into the example. Okay, so I've got my text prepared. You can write your own. I'm gonna select my text. I'm gonna open up its animation properties, and in the text menu, in the Animate tab, I'm gonna hit this little icon, this little play icon, and add the opacity property. And now, in the Animator 1, in the menu Add, in the tab Add, I'm gonna hit this icon again and add the position property. So, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna offset the position of my text by 45 pixels or so. So we're setting the initial value, the value from which the animation will begin, and set my opacity to 0. And now what I need to do, I'm going to open up my range selector. In the beginning of my composition, I'm gonna make a keyframe for the start, and start will be 0%. Now I'm gonna go to the first second and set my start to 100%, and the animation will look like this. We can also change our units. We can make words, we can make lines, so the whole line will animate, but I'm gonna stick with characters. And now I'm gonna select my keyframes, right click on one of them, keyframe assistant easy ease, go to the graph editor and ease out my animation. So this is a very handy method with which you can mix different animation properties and make quick changes only with 2 keyframes. So for example, if I want my text to animate from the top, not from the bottom, I'm just gonna hit -45 and the animation has changed. So this is a very cool handy method, hope you like it, and we're basically done. Alright, so in this third example, we've got our text animation where animation is going by lines. So let's go into the composition where I've prepared my text. My text string is separated into lines. So I'm gonna open up my text menu. I'm gonna hit this little icon in the Animate tab, select position. In the animator 1, I'm gonna add the opacity property to this. I'm gonna set my initial value, hit the opacity, make it 0%, and make some keyframes in the range selector. And as you can see now, text is animated by a character, and I want it to be animated by lines. So in the advanced menu, I'm gonna select the lines, and voila, text is animated by lines. All we have to do is easy ease our keyframes, and we're done. Alright, so in the next example we're going to be animating the whole word, and we're going to be animating its tracking. The tracking is basically a distance between the letters in the characters, and it's kind of a we're gonna achieve this kind of a cinematic, slow appearing text. It's very good for titles, for openers and stuff like that. Okay, so let's go into the example. I already prepared my text. And now what I want to do, I'm gonna open up my transformation menu. I'm gonna go to the Animate tab and select tracking and set my tracking to something like 10. Now I'm gonna add one more property, the opacity, and set it to 0. Now I'm gonna go to the beginning of the composition, and in the range selector I'm gonna hit a keyframe for the start. And on the first second, I'm gonna set my start to 100%, like this. But as you can see, the sentence is animated by a character, and we haven't achieved the effect we were going for. So what I need to do here, in the Advanced tab, I'm gonna choose my unit based on lines. And now the text is animated by line, and we're having this cool effect. So all I need to do now is easy ease my keyframes, and we're done. Alright, and in our final example, we'll be mixing some more properties. We're gonna be animating the opacity, the position, and the rotation, and we will be using 2 range selectors, because you can basically make any number of range selectors you wish to achieve all kinds of results. This is a very handy technique, and let's get into it. Okay, so I've got my text prepared. I'm gonna open up my transformation menu. I'm gonna go to the Animate tab, select the position, in the animator 1, I'm gonna add two more properties. I'm gonna add the opacity and I'm gonna add the rotation. I'm gonna set the position to about 45 pixels, rotation to about 30 degrees, and the opacity to 0. Now I'm going to animate this. In the beginning of the composition, I'm gonna set the start value to 0, and on the first second, I'm gonna set the start value to 100%. Okay, so we already have this cool looking animation, but in the example, we can see that the text is moving from right to left, not just appearing from the bottom. So how to do this? We're gonna need to add another animator or range selector. So in the text menu, in the animate tab, let's hit this little icon and add position. And now, as you can see, we've got our animator 2, and here I'm gonna set my position value to about, I don't know, 150 pixels, and open up the range selector and animate this. I'm gonna hit this little icon to make a keyframe in the beginning of the composition, and on the first second I'm gonna make start 100%. Okay, we're already getting somewhere, but actually this is not what I wanted to achieve, because in the advanced menu we need to select the units based on lines, and now we're having this kind of animation. So basically what's going on? The animator 1 is animating this text by a character. It's animating the position, the rotation, and the opacity. And the animator 2 animates the position of the whole line as I've selected, and thus we're achieving this kind of movement, like this. So to make this effect even more vivid and dramatic, if you can say so, we're gonna need to select our keyframes, right click on them, easy ease, let's go to the graph editor and let's set our keyframes like this. Let's select this group of keyframes and pull the Bezier handle to the left, and now let's select these keyframes and pull this Bezier handle to the right. So we're gonna have this kind of swoosh, this kind of sharp cool looking animation, and let's see how it looks. Okay friends, that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit like and subscribe to our channel, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and see you in the next videos.